let's get into it. The Poetry Clash, Keto Fortune versus Esther Coach, and yeah, we're gonna do a full breakdown right now. Shout out to all 0 people in the room, but hey, we're gonna keep it rolling. But off top, like while I still get things situated on my side, Daniel, do you have any like initial thoughts about the clash?
Yeah, this one was messy, as new challenges are, right? So this was our first international clash, which, as would be expected with new things, there was new challenges and new issues, and more of the same. Kind of when you're dealing with like production in the world we're living in right now, trying to produce content with guests and with third parties and such. In the COVID world, we're all kind of figuring out how to do that. So it was kind of like all the normal headaches we would have with a clash, but just kind of ramped up a little bit. So like the pre-production side of this, for everybody that doesn't know, like we put a lot of pre-production into everything we do and a lot of post-production into everything we do. And that's why we are the most poppin' poetry podcast in the known galaxy. But that is the poppin' part. You feel me? That is the pop. And to get that pop into all of our content, it takes a lot of pre. And that pre this time was just, like I said, it just felt like everything was ramped up like just one notch. You know what I'm saying? Like as opposed to operating on our, because we're starting to get comfortable with this now, which is fucking tragic. It sucks to be in the place that Penn clicks in where we're like, okay, I think we figured out how to do content from our houses forever. Like, this is never what we wanted to do, but now we figured out how to do this. So that to say, we really are and we're coming into a comfortable place with producing these events. But this one and the international nature of it, like I said, it felt like it just ramped up the difficulty level. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't quite on hardcore, but we're definitely playing on hard. You feel me?
Exactly. Yeah, so to give everyone like a bit of info, behind the scenes info about this, is that this clash was actually like riddled with so many technical issues. Like Esther for the longest like couldn't get her footage up to the cloud, and like I thought we had to postpone the entire clash like for this whole thing. Like I thought, oh, we gotta do this, we gotta push to November because Esther's not gonna be able to get it in time. But then like a week before today, she was able to get all the footage up. I'm like, oh shit, now I gotta like really get on everything, like put out all the promo pieces, put out like everything. And that's why like we have like a certain content release strategy with every clash, with every piece too. Like there's always Poet 1's promo piece, there's Poet 2's promo piece, there's like select judges, there's like a tomorrow piece, there's a tonight piece, there's like 6 or 7 pieces of content that go with every clash, and it works as a countdown also to like inform people about the clash and inform people about the poets, because we're trying to build characters out of poets, and the only way to do that is through this trailer kind of content. So the trailers are really important to the clash overall, and to what we feel to like poetry in general, to build characters out of poets. But I had to do all that within like a week and a half. It was crazy. I had a health scare and I lost a day of work, and it was wild. Secondly, KITO'S footage, and this is crazy to say, but KITO'S footage like is actually a re-recorded bit. Like, yeah, surprise, it's all re-recorded. So what happened was that KITO'S footage, it was like he recorded everything fine, but then his actual file was corrupted. And when that happened, like I tried every trick in the book. I tried like reconverting it. I tried using Handbrake, Adobe Media Encoder. I even purchased like this $50 piece of software that's supposed to fix corrupted files and resurrect deleted files, but none of it worked. I even went so far as to get with their technical staff, and nobody was able to help me. So because of that, we had to just like say, all right, we're gonna have to re-record Keto. So what you see in the clash, like what you see here, like that's Keto who's reacting to Esther's poetry right there, and him performing. That's all redone. in round one, you'll hear all the judges say, "Yeah, he slipped up," and you hear Daniel say in his recap, like, "Yeah, Keto slipped up in round one." We had to rehearse Keto slipping up in the re-recording of round one, and we had to re-record like 2 or 3 times because the second time didn't take. It was a mess, and I say all that to say this: what you see here, right? What you see here on this Twitch page, on this stream, is like kind of like not only was it an idea to like get us on Twitch, but it was also an idea to hopefully figure out a way to record poetry clashes in real time. And what you see here, like our two-piece combos and this conversation, these are all kind of like test runs to see, okay, maybe we can do clashes this way, like actually do it live with pre-built scenes and everything. And yeah, I hopefully this is the wave, because relying on poets who don't know too much about technology, who don't know how to upload things, and whose files might get corrupted, off top, is like all of that could have been bypassed had we just recorded it this way using OBS Ninja and doing this full recording thing. But we didn't know how to do that till very recently. So,
and we had no reason to do that until very recently.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and the interesting thing with what we're doing is kind of we're trying to do two things: operate at this level and be fully transparent, and like let our audience know, like, because that is the great lesson. We went through all these trials. Keto did have to reshoot. Esther, it was like a crazy cloud issue. Again, all normal things that we're used to dealing with. It was just this time they were super ramped up. But all that to say, like, it comes together at the end. Like, that is the great lesson in all of it. Like, that is what we're trying to do for poetry, is like just keep it pushing and like keep operating at this level and like figure out the way to work around these issues, and then let you, the audience, know, like, yo, you see that? That was a magic trick. You know what I'm saying? That was all post-production magic. So when you're at home trying to develop your whatever project it is, and you're hitting these roadblocks, you know what I'm saying? Like, there is a workaround to the biggest, craziest issues, like Keto lost all of his footage in some weird digital gods didn't want him to.
God.
And that's the worst part when it's like corrupted footage files and stuff, because I feel like it's like God. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's like
you can't do shit.
The digital god being like, nah, bro, we don't want that. We want to make you work harder. Do it again.
But you know what? Like, because of that, it forced me to figure out how to do this. Because of this entire thing, like this chat right now, was a reaction to that. Like, we can't rely on poets like who. Okay, so the fact of the matter is that a lot of poets don't have tech skills, don't have media skills. That's a fact. Because poets, like as artists of the text and word, like a lot of artists like don't concentrate on the dissemination of the publishing part, because they
it's a huge it's a huge discipline jump. Huge.
Right. It's like, to them, it's like, I'm a poet. I just do poetry. Why do I have to know how to upload footage and like record video and shit? And yeah, that's true. But as content creators, this is a shift of paradigm. No longer thinking about poetry as art, but thinking about poetry as content, and you're creating poetry content. Now you're in a content creator's mindset, and now you have to think about, like, uploading video, editing video, how's the audio sound, all that. So it's a completely different mindset, and we can't expect every poet to know that, because by and large the culture is like not in that paradigm yet.
Yeah.
So that being said, we made it there. We pushed this baby across the finish line, and yeah, why don't we just like listen real quick to everyone's rounds, and we'll just say a few things, like good things, bad things, or whatever. So yeah, Danny, you ready for this?
Yeah, get it.
Yeah, let's get it. 90 seconds, let's get it.
I wish I knew how to dance.
Me too.
Like dance.
Facts.
Like middle of the circle, drowning in my own sweat dance.
Same.
But all I know is the awkward collecting.
Yeah, like I feel like KITO'S thing is like, yeah, we all wish we could dance, man. It's like, fuck, that's
And
facts.
Keto is like the everyman that's better. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not only like has that everyman quality to him, he has that like Ned Flanders quality to him in the best way possible. You know what I'm saying? Like I trust Keto.
Okay.
I like if Keto came to me.
Is that a
for
shot
anything,
or not? Is that a shot? Because I'm about to play a
I'm
sound
just saying.
effect.
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, Keto is not only like the everyman in the sense that like he's super relatable, he's like super humble, but he's also like so endearing, so like his integrity like it abounds through him. He's such a good person, and in like a special way, in like a singular way. Like, shouts out to Keto because this whole performance, all 3 rounds, just ooze everything that is like Keto and Keto love and all of that.
And I wish y'all could have seen the original take. It was so good.
Of my self-esteem when I get too excited and lose the tempo. I wish I knew how to properly comfort the grieving, but warm words and shoulder touch.
Also, real quick, I remember distinctly telling Esther to look at your camera, and throughout almost the entire thing, she looks at the monitor. It's like,
we're teaching them. We're out here educating them.
And low key, because I have like music in the background here and there, and like I also have like noise canceling here and there. It's like you don't hear it, but in the raw footage, her mom is the one that's like holding the camera, and you can like if you listen carefully, you can hear her mom breathing.
Yeah, word.
Touches have always been ancient Latin. All I know is sitting silently, waiting to make a joke that isn't too soon.
Yeah, lit.
I wish I knew how to trace my route past the topic.
That was rehearsed because he actually did slip up in that part originally, and we had to include that, or otherwise.
Shouts out to Keto though. He remembered too. Whenever we hit him with it, like, yo, Keto, there was a flub up that we might need you to do. And he was like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what it was. Like, oh, dope.
Layer of soil. But all I know is a gifted last name and a stolen land. I wish I knew the texture of a gold medal between my teeth. But all I know is the quiet fist bump of beating my personal best. All I have learned is to saran wrap these tiny victories, preserve them for the days I have nothing. All I have learned is that after a bad week, no one cares if you're still on beat. All I have learned is a Cupid shuffle, a cha-cha slide. I've learned to wobble like I invented every step, and it feels like my ancestors raised up to dance with me. Like my mom could see my granddad swag in my two-step. All I have learned is to care less about first place if my awkward little moves could put a smile on my family's face. And I wish I knew all of this younger.
Me too.
Because 12-year-old me could have been a hell of a dancer.
Come on, bro.
Hey, yo! That's dope.
So good, bro. Keto is so, oh my gosh.
Yo, so real quick, like, how do you score that round?
If I saw that like at a slam with context, with all the context, if you don't know, go on YouTube and watch the whole thing, and we break the whole thing down. But round 1 poetry clash, if I was judging, I mean, bro, with the prompts, which was things I wish I would have known.
With the slip up too.
If he didn't hit that slip up, 9.4. With the slip up, I'm gonna say like an 8.8.
8.8.
That's a big. Yeah, but like, and honestly, like, it was disappointing though. You know what I'm saying? To hear Keto slip up in his performance was kind of like, oh man, like you're better than that, Keto, and you know that, and you know what I'm saying? And like, I mean, not that it takes anything away from the content that he's putting out there, because Keto is that type of a poet. You know what I'm saying? You will forgive him for everything and anything, and like, but yeah, he does definitely take like a 0.6 hit on that for me, for sure.
I think as a fellow gentleman who kind of fakes their way through dancing, I kind of resonated with it. Like, yeah, I wish I could dance too. And then he goes into like all these other metaphor strings based off like things I wish I could do, and I really fuck with that. Like, even with the slip up, I still really fuck with this poem. Like, I give this, like, even with the slip up, I'd probably give it like a 9 flat. The thing is that even if he did it perfect, it wouldn't be much better. It'd probably be like 9.1, 9.2. But to me, he was missing a haymaker to like really nail it. I feel like if there was if he had like one big room shaker, that's like a 9-7 or even a 10. So
Yeah, I feel that, and that's one thing we're seeing time and time again with slam poets when they clash, is that the short nature of the rounds makes it a lot harder to build up to a big giant hit. So what we see a lot of times is just a lot of really well executed singles instead of swinging for that home run. You know what I'm saying? So,
all right, let's get it.
I know what I'm worth, but only by way of male adolescent analogies, and I'm so done with it. I feel like
that line, I know what I'm worth, but only through male adolescent analogies, and I'm so done with it. It's like, yo, life experience in one line. Dumb fire.
a monster truck in a Salford car park derby of pimp Fiestas, grass green Mitsubishis, and your mum's Fiat Punto hatchback.
Yeah.
Other girls are popping and yowling, grazing the tarmac like...
Hey, yo, shout out Benny. Welcome back to the chat, sir.
What's up, Benny?
Thanks for coming through to the Twitch, fam. Hey, I love KITO'S work. Definitely.
Yeah, we've been talking to ourselves for a minute, but...
Yeah, like we actually did an episode with him in season 1 of the podcast, because early on, like, he was like a rising star in the poetry lounge in our local scene, and like he's one of my favorite like spoken word poets. Facts.
Acrylic nails down your shoulder blades, twin exhausts huffing with carbon and cush and abuse.
Yo, let me just say like how surprised I was by this entire like import scene thing, because I was like, oh, y'all have that too? Like I thought, I thought that was some West homies. Like I got the coffee can muffler on the Civic, bro. What's good? Yeah, so I was surprised.
That is
Red
so LA,
spoilers, cobalt blue, like the
like that's an
Yeah,
LA
facts.
thing. I think LA things are only
in the
LA.
tarmac like acrylic nails down your shoulder blades, twin exhausts huffing with carbon and cush and abuse, raised spoilers, cobalt blue, like the breast of a peahen. I am transcendent, a once-in-a-lifetime event. I am Drift Tengoku. I'm not Friday nights or the...
Drift Tengoku? Do you know what that is? Okay. She makes like other references later to like Korean gods or something.
What was that Drift anime?
That was
What was it
Initial
called?
D.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Sunday afternoon come down because... and I'm bouncing off your anticipation to California Love, Fuji La, and Eiffel 65, like, and the Me and Lion.
Yo, it's kind of weird to see. This frame is kind of weird to see like you sitting next to yourself.
Oh yeah, I feel that. She's
Give yourself
oh my
a kiss,
god,
bro.
she's doing so much
I'm
right now.
euphoric to be let out of the Colosseum. But she knows the streets. And she knows how to distribute her Saint-Tropez compactness in those grey Topshop leggings, abdominals sickening. Whereas my axle is clicking, and not that satisfying clicking that a BMX makes, but the telltale sign of a dwindling attraction. Like a beautiful galleon, as it sails through hurricane straits, a ship has no clutch to disconnect me from this place, to disembark with my feelings still intact, is the consolation prize of this race.
1 second. Wow, yeah. Bars.
Bro, so much.
Yeah.
The shift has no clutch. That intro, honestly, that the first lines, the words are incredible, and I don't like her performance flair there. I'm just gonna say that before I say anything else. Her little attitude-y, like her little performance thing she added there that we don't see a lot of from her. The one thing that like I loved about this style clash was it really was an example in what you've described and what people know in the UK and Europe. Is that American poets overperform or can be said to overperform. So Esther doesn't do that. And that little performance flair at the beginning, I could have I take it or leave it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was kind of leave it for me. Like, oh, okay. Because everything else is so strong. And Esther, when she talks, it's interesting because she the alchemy thing that she uses, she does spit like she's weaving a spell. You know what I'm saying? She has this steady intent, this magical intent behind her words. That all that to say, that little performance flair at the end and the pause and stuff, I could totally do without because how strong that line is. And this poem for me, bro, is like everything. This hits like, this is an indictment. This is cathartic. This is like therapeutic.
Out of 10. What we got? Out of 10.
This is like all the things I want to see in a poem at a slam, like even any context. I'm going to say high, bro. I'm going to say like a 9.5. I'm going to say this is like a 9.5. Like,
okay.
It's not a 10 because, one, you got to hit the format for real. Like, so, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there was a little bit of a stretch there for me, but yeah, I liked it. It was great. Okay. It was a 9.5. Cool.
I would agree. Like 9.5. Like that's pretty good. Like from first line and like using like the metaphor of like the car scene and like her whole life experience. And it's like how, and you know, even within the car scene, there's like a model scene, and it's like I wonder if like she's had any experience with that whole thing, like hot import models. Shout out Tila Tequila. And yeah, like that was really dope to see that, like, oh, like that experience like transcends. Like I didn't know they had a whole scene like that in the UK that she's referencing to, so I was like really impressed by that. It's like, oh, this is something I really relate with as you know, as like an older millennial Asian American who's like really like who like you know, back in the day, like, you know, import tuning was like a big part of our Asian American identity. It was like, wow, she's like really speaking to me like unexpectedly right now. So yeah, 9.5, like 9.5 for like the connection and also for using it. So yeah, it sounds like we're edging. So are we in agreement that we're edging Esther in round 1?
She did something that's so crazy, which is here's this, because the scene doesn't get disparaged in this. The cartooning scene doesn't feel bad. She just uses these common images and these things in this scene to describe like her experience while still feeling like it's of that culture and she's from that. She's not like I said, it doesn't feel like she's blaming the car scene or she's. Hold on.
Benny says, to be honest, felt KITO'S poem more. If I was at a slam, I probably would have scored KITO higher. Fair enough. 9.4, 8.9. That's just me. Totally agree. Canadian poets are the same way. Definitely a lot of overperforming. Yeah, you know, it's like North America. Maybe that's just the wave. It's like
we all want to be stars, bro. We all want to be stars.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on over to round 2, sir.
If I truly believed it's permanent, would I have given you more than I all?
Benny says it might have been the performance. I always look for that while performing the poem. Yeah, facts. Yeah, like Esther definitely doesn't have that, you know, big boisterous. All right, so let me give some back info. Right, so how I met Esther was I was doing this backpacking tour, you know, trip around Europe, and I tried to make it a point to go to like a poetry thing in every city I went to. When I got to Manchester, I looked up on Facebook like Poetry Manchester. The first thing that came up was this thing called Young Identity, which is her spoken word group out of her university. And I went there. Their artist in resident, their mentor, Shirley May, did this whole thing where like she made fun of American poets. Like, oh yeah, if you want to get a 10 in America, you just do one of these and you know, act as if like you're blowing yourself in the head. And I was like there, I was like, ugh. I don't know if she knew that I was like American until like I opened my mouth. And there was this part during the workshop where this one girl, like she was like, you know, performing her poem, but she kept on like nervously, you know, moving her arms, her hands, and then Shirley May, like she kind of like did like a half Nelson on this girl. It's like, all right, stop your arms, and then she had the girl perform her poem. Like while the girl's arms were being like held behind Shirley May behind her back. It was like the most hilarious thing, and the whole thing was like in the UK, it's 50% text, 50% performance. Like they really don't like overperforming, and like you know, and you can see that like Esther is in that whole school.
But like the content, if the content's there and the pen game's strong, like that's preferable to me.
You'd be surprised, dude. Like in Amsterdam, they dock you points if you overperform. Like they're like an 80% text, 20% kind of performance kind of place. I've seen dudes lose in Amsterdam because they came with a traditional slam style, and then I saw this like sleepy ass Tumblr ass poet girl win with like just reading this text off her thing.
This is my favorite one, the hand stuff. Whenever they look at their hands, like there's things in my
Benny
hand.
says, I would be fucked in that scene. Yeah, we all would because we're North American, eh? All right,
I'll be okay,
let's get
bro.
into it. All right.
I keep asking myself if I truly believed as permanent, would I have given you more than my all? Offered my donations of blood with vertical slices,
Tight.
chewed my wings past the gristle, cracked my bones open and flown to you on mirrorless stubs. Can I blame it on the temporary? How it stalked us since our inception, squeezed itself in between every hug. Maybe our embraces weren't as warm as I remember. Our moments of silent, satisfied silence more awkward than I.
He slipped up there, but in real life, like during the actual recording, he did not slip up at all.
Yeah,
this was
yeah.
like a seamless performance.
I could see. Was the temporary always present? A dastardly demon tying bungee cords to our leap of faith, a ferocious yank permanently lodging my heart in my throat. Your name tastes like iron now, and I blame it on the temporary. My name tastes like an empty glass. You drop it, and I shatter in a different room because I can't hear you say it anymore. Don't know if the shards cut you as you tried to clean it up, or if they sit in the cupboard collecting dust, and you purging the memory of it ever being on your lips. I blame it on the temporary because it's easier. I get to say it was smarter than me, like I never saw it coming.
Bro.
The whole like class thing is like how he talks about when you say my name feels like broken glass or something.
I shatter in another room.
Right. That was like fire. Like to me, that might have been a room shaker. Like if depending on how he performed and delivered that line,
So when
that
you
could have
say
been a good room shaker.
I shatter in another room and wonder if you'll cut yourself when you pick up the pieces, or if they'll sit in the cupboard and collect dust or something. And Kito's special too, because in his performance he has the ability to do these room shakers where, as opposed to where you want to go like, hey, you go, whoa. It's so impactful and like, I don't even know what the word is, but like he understands something about fragility and expressing like that thing. And he's also like a nerd and all of that, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the things that we grew up with defending, you know what I'm saying? Like anime and real hip hop. That comes through in our writing now. And you have that happening in Kito where he is like expressing a pain, and he can express a pain in a way that like will level you. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoa, I understand that pain now in a new way. And this poem, bro, is full of that. From jump, he hits you hard, where it's like, bro, that slit wrist iconography and all of that hits you hard, but he builds with it and builds on it to where it's never cringy, it's never edgelordy, it's never weird, and then like all of that. All of that from one word. One word, temporary. He got all of that. Yeah, I'm gonna say like a 9.6. 9.6. He hit the prompt out
Score
the
creep?
park.
I don't know. Let us know, everyone. Is that score creep? Yeah, I give him a 9.3. It's like I love his poem. I love his poem. Like
and the whole
the glass bit was like crazy. The ending, it kind of landed a little flat for me, but that was my only gripe. I think everything else was executed very well. You could tell that like he's coming from a very personal place when he performs it. And yeah, 9.3, like very solid piece. All right, let's get into Esther's round.
When you're lonely, a kindness is never temporary. We met to talk about work. I could see he was disturbed, it was nerves, it was restless words tumbling like kittens between synapses, looking to perforate his body and collapse into his coffee, ruin my dress for once, it wouldn't have bothered me. Tiger's eye on cabochon.
Tiger's eye on cabochon. Do you know what that is? I tried looking it up. I have no idea.
I have no idea. We'll have to ask Esther. She's doing a lot of like rhyme things at the beginning of this. and I'm super on the fence about it. I mean, it's well done, like it's dope, but like I'm having some like, I don't know, some backpack issues. I'm hearing like, you know what I'm saying, that simple like the stretches. They're not they're not multis enough. It's kind of just like A B A B A B.
Deep and still by the tobacco, smoky quartz in the jovial moon, he had me imagining a baby in clam pink at the baptismo.
That's dope.
Wrapped
like
in
her visuals, like how she described the scene is fire.
a crocheted blanket courtesy of Avo. We basted crow's feet in each other's faces, a conjugal kindness.
Conjugal kindness. So that's a very subtle way of saying, describing like what the relationship is like.
Despite his discomfort, I felt comfy, like seamless tights, a full, fat, milky feeling, a bottomless bowl of porridge, a holy grail at my kitchen table, piping hot knowledge, a good food and wholesome conversation kindness. If he'd only agree, I'd let him excavate my heart, he'd find a kiln, sacks and urns of miln devotion, spare clay and kindling, fix the gutters while you're at it, a tradesman's kindness. And then we went outside and the charcoal dragons that constitute the night writhed at his sight. He is Ryujin.
Ryujin is a Japanese or Korean god, which is like a dragon. Some kind of dragon god. I had to look that up. Ryujin.
That's a lot of work.
Halfway with a waxing gaze, the lit presence of 2 cigarettes in a Mancunian haze, and a clawed finger made its descent and wagged in dissent. I
love that part. Wagged in dissent. I remember editing this part. I'm like doing this. Wagged in dissent. For sure.
With a waxing gaze, the lit crescents of 2 cigarettes in a Mancunian haze, and a clawed finger made its descent and wagged in dissent. He's an eternal incense cone. He can roll the rainy city and blow it back through a microphone. From some isolated location, he can control the ambience in my home. He's not for me, a celestial decree.
So I was looking for like what the perfect sound effect was for like the 1 point. I thought maybe like the what is it? Metal Gear Solid. When you like, like like the
you get the
but I was like, oh no, that's but I was like, oh no, that's mean. It's like I don't want it to be comical. Like I want it to be like this. Hey, this is happening. So I just like. But hey, if Benny, if you have a better suggestion in the comments, like let us know what a good sound effect for changing to when it comes to like the deduction phase.
The rainy city and blow it back through a microphone. From some isolated location, he can control the ambience in my home. He's not for me, a celestial decree. When you're lonely, to accept a kindness is to be cautionary.
It's a good ending too.
Yeah, it was cool. I like that poem. It's a cool poem. I don't feel like it had anything to do with the prompt.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
this is the wrong title card. This is supposed to be round 2, right?
Yeah, you went back.
Round 1. No, I didn't. Yeah, I put in the wrong. I put the wrong text. In the video. Hey. All right, that's my fault. Womp womp womp. I'm gonna put that sound effect in post.
Sorry, David. All this.
Yeah. All right. So before we get into like the final round, do you have thoughts about Esther's round, despite the DQ or even with the DQ? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you take away, like, honestly, the restraint, her not hitting the prompt, for me was the biggest thing in all of this. But, like, just as a poem, 2 things, right? If she would have taken off that first little rhymey bit at the beginning. Yeah, I feel like that just wasn't enough for me. Yeah, I feel you. I get it. And like whoever this dude or girl is, you know what I'm saying, or third gender is like blah blah blah. Because be nice to Esther, bro, or she will write a poem about you on some like Taylor Swift gang. Like she will get you, bro. But that like that little rhymey bit at the beginning, I feel like she could have omitted, and that actually might have helped the poem out a little bit more. And it also would have made her hit the prompt. But separating the poetry clash from this, if I just heard that like at a slam, like that's a 9 for me. Like, oh yeah, your bars. Like that's in the 8.5 to 9 range for me, depending on what round it is. You feel me? Round 1, if I heard that, like yeah, I'd give her a 9 because I want to see what's next. Round 3, and that's what you bring me, probably like an 8.5. But yeah, like it's bars. It's just unfortunate that like she and it is and it isn't, right? Like I understand the sacrifice for art, but I also do respect like a good challenge and like trying to push more poets to do that, because we are in a very forgiving art and we don't push ourselves enough artistically sometimes to do harder things. Like, yeah, it is hard to it's called killing your babies, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard for a reason. So I would have liked to see that extra bit of work done to make it hit the prompt.
I think I give her it's well done. I think this is a great feature piece, not a great slam piece.
I feel
Benny
that.
says, one thing I always try is to make my poems as easy to digest as possible. Although I appreciate good vocabulary and references, sometimes making obscure references can only really affect. Yeah. So this speaks to the art of storytelling, where when you're storytelling live, you really only have like then and now for a person to get it. Unlike page poetry, where a person can read a poem, stage poetry, on the other hand, is like going through the oral traditions. Like, there's certain mechanics of oral delivery that you have to account for, and the fact that the people do not have the luxury of rewinding a performance. Right? It's only there and now that I can hear this. So, boom, like wanting to hear. But at the same time, there's something to be said about like, you know, a cryptic punchline that when you hit, it's like, whoa, it's like a fucking room shaker. It's like, holy shit. So it's a gamble. It's a big gamble. If you know your room
too. Yeah, know your room. And you can also preface it, right? Like I do a couple reference pieces where I go in deep. Like I have a hip hop, like punk rock piece that I do, and it's all just deep cut references. But that's kind of the bit, you know what I'm saying? To where it's like, and like Esther has the ability to do that too. Like we see in her round 3, where it's essentially her being like, "I'm about to do a magic spell," and then she does it.
So you have a calibration piece, but in a slam, are you willing to do a calibration piece for your round 1? It's like, oh, can you gauge the room with your round 1? Like, you know, it's tactics, right?
But know your room too. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it too. Like because it's hit or miss. But yeah, I feel you. Like yeah. So what you got on this? What do you have on round 2, Esther?
Oh, for Esther, for Esther, I give her 8-7. It's like it's a very solid piece, great for because what she does, like her whole narrative style is fire. But for a slam, you know, it's like when we're trying to win points from judges, it's like you have to like impress hella, like you have to have like maximum, you know, hot points. And I feel like this was like a high plateau, but those peaks never hit for me. Going into the form round, I'm still trying to figure out a good way of presenting this information, because when I was doing a test run, having my girlfriend watch this, she's like, I don't understand a single word of that. And I'm like, oh. do I even bother?
It might be a video, or we might just leave it to them, because on the real, this looks like scary. Like it looks like a warning where it's like fucking like Pantoums, and then some crazy
really
text. You know what I'm saying? Like do not pirate Pantoums.
I like the fact that, you know, it kind of reads scary, right? It's like, oh, this is some technical shit.
It is hard, yeah.
So
no, I feel you. Maybe it's this, or maybe it's a verbal explanation, like one or the other. But no, I think we're fine, bro. I think we just keep rocking.
Clique Poetry Clash. All right, round 3. The third round is a form round. For this Poetry Clash, the form is a pantoum. A pantoum is a form of poetry similar to a villanelle in that there are... Yeah, it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, it is a little too much. Down somehow. The first line we could just...
So with that... You're good. Yeah. That being said, no time. But as soon as you watch Keto do his pantoum, you know what the fuck is going down. Yeah. It's fucking crazy. Limit, form round, pantoum on Keto Fortune. Let's get it.
Look and see that the world is on fire in more ways than one. Fitting that we already have our masks on when the smoke seeks to blot out our sunlight. In more ways than one. What kind of coughing will threaten us today?
Crazy.
When the smoke seeks to blot out our sunlight, we ask for the Lord to help us find oxygen. What kind of coughing will threaten us today? A bloody moon looms over our city. We ask for the Lord to help us find the oxygen, fearing that we cannot breathe. A bloodied moon looms over our city, and democracy goes up in flames. Fearing that we cannot breathe, we're forced to smile with just our eyes. And democracy goes up in flames.
Let me just say that Pantoums are one of those classic forms that does win slams. There have many people have won like big grand slams with Pantoums as the third round because
and it's so dope because you could feel it build like in the audience where they catch on.
It's mechanically, technically impressive. It's crazy.
It's like going up on a roller coaster. You feel me?
Yeah.
That we already have our masks on. We're forced to smile with just our eyes. Look and see that the world is on fire.
Yo! And I like that he only did like a few quatrains. Like he didn't like.
Yeah.
That's one thing that it can be said about Esther's piece, where like even though she does this really dope like cyclical narrative thing, it's like it went on. You know what I'm saying? And like Keto was able to do it within like 4 or 5 quatrains or 5 or 6 quatrains, which is like crazy.
Yeah, brevity game, right? Bro, and like
So,
one of his lines is like 3 words, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that was a straight 10. Like I think straight up like put numbers on the board. 10. That's a 10 from me for KITO'S Pantoum. If I saw that as slam, dude, straight up 10.
It's amazing. Like this is one of my favorite things about the Clash is making poets do hard things because I do these prompts like myself and like often like I'll give myself prompts and keep your pen game sharp. You know what I'm saying? And after a while, who cares about if you can write a dope prose poem? Who cares? So can I. So can everybody. So like sharpen your pen game up. So to challenge poets in this way is super dope. To see Keto rise to the challenge and still do Keto and still be transcendent and universal and topical and bro, yeah, it's a 10. Like it's a 9.9 if it's not a 10. You feel me? I feel like maybe it could have been a little longer, but I want to read this. I want to see it. I want to hear it. This is dope. And West, bro, like that was all what we've been going through.
Yay!
That felt like LA in 2020.
Keto did that. Keto did. I wonder if it's like it sounds kind. I wonder if we influence judges every time we react like to a poet. Like, oh my god, that was crazy. But yeah, judges, go ahead, you do your thing.
Yeah, whatever though. This is our show.
That.
Yes, sir.
Round 3, form round, Pantoum. It's on Esther. Let's go.
The day I laid a curse was the day your woman who sells the crystals fleeced me for a fat druzy.
There's so many words she uses in this Pantoum that I was unsure.
Fleeced me for a fat druzy. I like fleeced me a lot. Like as like we're both kind of UK heads, and like that's one of the things that I wouldn't mind being able to see here. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, this fool just fleeced me out of like
druzy.
I don't know what that means. Yeah, well.
To ward off infatuation. That day, your woman who sells the crystals helped me conjure a filthy scheme to ward off infatuation with a man.
Yo, like I was saying in the live chat during the premiere, is like there is like some Wicca high school student that is like, screw facing hard, like yo, she said with the crystals.
A malevolent multimedia masquerader. So I conjured a filthy scheme. I forced rose hips from Mrs. O'Hare's hedge into the man's mouth, the malevolent multimedia masquerader, until his cheeks bruised. I forced rose hips from Mrs. O'Hare's hedge into the man's mouth, and now his face looks like capers. 4 weeks of bruise.
His face looks like capers. So like I'm guessing he has hella boils on his face because capers are like those little mushroom things.
Yeah, well, like the little black things, right? They're the little black, like dark green things. They're kind of gross.
Green cheeks. I heard his mammy got some dosh from the local papers.
Got some dosh from the local papers. Again.
And his face looked like capers, but that couldn't be his lot. His mammy got some dosh from the papers. And I stole some secateurs from Mr. O'Hare's garage with the...
Secateurs, I had to look it up, are shears that are held with one hand. So like scissors.
Okay. Yeah.
Secateurs.
Shitty
like gardening shears?
No. Be his lot. His mammy got some dosh from the papers, and I stole some secateurs from Mr. O'Hare's garage with the shitty lock. No, it wouldn't be his lot, and so I pruned my acrylic nails with Mr. O'Hare's secateurs from the garage with the shitty lock, so I could deftly handle the alchemical weight of the crystal woman's rock. And so with my acrylic nails no more, I inspected the druzy for its preternatural potential. And using Mr. O'Hare's secateurs, I hacked its facets into a pan. Satisfied with the potency of its preternature, I warmed yoyoba with witch hazel and menthol.
Yoyoba?
With hacked facets in the pan.
Yorba. So that's, I believe that's some kind of like ingredient. Yorba roots, I believe.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
And I gave the finished concoction to my malevolent man's mam. You see, yoyoba, witch hazel, and menthol are remedial of poison ivy and loathsome thistle. I gave the finished concoction to my malevolent man's mam because she was the woman from whom I bought the crystal.
Yeah. So that was yeah. So that was like some Wicca 301 course that like I was like, all right, I'm assuming that she knows what the fuck she's talking about. It's like you could even see in her face how she's like, I'm talking like she looks like she knows she's talking that shit, that Wicca shit.
It's straight up a spell.
And she's like, not her, like her swag with it. It's like there's hella conviction in her swag. It's like, yeah, that Wicca shit about crystals and the secateurs and all that. It's like, yo, big ups, fam.
And it's dope too because because of the styling and the content, like the theming of that, right? Like the magical essence alchemy thing. It makes my ignorance of what these phrases actually mean kind of it benefits her because it sounds more like a magical spell. It's more of a ride for me as an American to hear. Like if I went and saw Esther, say Esther's featuring in LA, you feel me? And I hear like, yo, there's this dope Mancunian poet who's going to feature at DPL this week, and we go see that. Like that's all I want to see. You feel me? Like that is like super dope feature fodder forever and ever. Like that's a special poem because it describes who she is, but it's informative about the culture. It's informative about like style out there. There's a lot going on. It is a little hard to understand. Yeah, it really is. But yeah,
but because as a slam piece.
And that's one thing I hate. Whenever the and shouts out, I love you all, find God, express God, do all your God shit in your poems. But I do not like when somebody goes up on a slam stage and does some like crazy 9 degrees of separation God thing where it's like the pyramids and we're talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't take me from modern day society to the pyramids and then like leave me in some weird place where there's some lion metaphor and there's always like, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, we get it, bro. God, and you're deep and you read stuff. There's nothing like that. It's almost like the flip of that. Like what's fun about like Wicca and like alchemy and those like ideas, magic, is in Esther's poem. It's like it's all there, and it's like it's very enticing in that witchy way, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
She's definitely got that allure to her. So yeah, on the real, like I'm gonna give this pretty high, but I don't think it's a great like slam thing, so I'm gonna say like a 9.5.
Oh,
9.5.
Okay.
Yeah,
pretty high. Also, like to pull a Pantoum poem in the middle of a slam is crazy. Like Pantoums are so dope. Like I suspect we're gonna see more Pantoums, you know, in the upcoming like next slams next year or whenever this shit is over. But yeah, like. I would probably, if I saw a Pantoum from an English woman about casting a spell and it's a crazy narrative piece that returns to its beginning, yeah, that's probably like a 9 flat. 9 flat.
That's fair.
Points docked because one, there's still no haymaker, and two, like there were parts where I didn't really get, but I contextually, I was able to fill in the gaps.
And that's a big thing too, I want to say, is like you definitely, like we all have checklists and you require a haymaker. I don't necessarily, And for me, like the fluidity of it, like the consistent nature of the style, and like the fact that the style builds on itself almost by the end of the poem, like that's kind of why I gave it a little bit of extra points. But I feel you, like that haymaker thing is really like important to you as like an entertainment thing. You feel me?
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about like 10.
I feel you.
I'm not. We can't lower our barriers of entry into the 10 realm, because if we start giving things 10s that are really good but not, fuck yeah, I want to show this to everybody. To me, a 10 is like, this is a poem that like I'm gonna show everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like this, like a 10 poem is like I'm fucking sharing this on my IG story, my Facebook, even on my LinkedIn, because I want everybody to see this poem. And
because it hits
to
all
me,
the
like
marks.
exactly. And a 10 is like, it's we haven't been able to dish out too many 10s except for KITO'S Pantoum. That's a 10 to me, because from a technical standpoint, down to the relevancy, the topic wise, all that shit.
And we West Coast. Honestly, in 15 years, whenever my kids or my grandkids, or you know what I'm saying, the youngsters, the young folks in our family are like, what was the pandemic like? I'm gonna show them KITO'S poem. You feel me?
Facts.
Like that third round.
So these were the judges' scores. In the yellow, you see like what that second round DQ did to her poem.
Score.
Yeah. All it did was that it removed like the second round, and which is a shame because Cold Piece had it by 0.1 off, but still pretty clear. KITO 3-0'd, like for the most part. But then as we look at like the round by round, it was. When really you look at it round by round, like everybody gave KITO 2-1. Nobody gave KITO like a straight 30.
There was no unanimous round. Esther got the first round like 2-1, and then KITO just got those last 2-1. You know what I'm saying? But this was super close, and this was like on the real. Like I didn't know Esther too well before all of this. And I know KITO, and I've slammed against KITO, and like KITO is a beast, and I would never want to be against him in a slam because he's a monster. His pin I was nervous, but this was super dope. This was like Esther challenged KITO in a real way. Like I really feel like both the poets, like it was tight and it was brutal, and it was like this. The one thing I will say that this was the first time I saw a clash, and I thought like 5 rounds would be dope. Like that would be sick if we had 2 more rounds of this, like maybe one other prompted round or something. You know what I'm saying? Because they were cooking.
Shout out Introverses, who does 5 lines.
Yeah, they do 5 rounds, but they do slam too. So it's like 3 minutes. So you're committed. You're in that. You're in that. Yeah.
So let's talk about that real quick, right? Like let's talk about Introverses and their format compared to ours. Because like I really fuck with the idea that the way they do their content is like very rapid fire. Like they don't require anybody to write new poems. Like it's like, all right, whatever you have in the bag, come.
It's a slam.
It's a slam.
Just a slam.
You know, as far as like content creation goes, it's like, all right, well, if I know this poet, I've seen them perform these poems before, and that's the marker, right? We're like not getting fresh content, but at the same time, it exposes you to a lot of new poets, right? So more often than not on Introverses, I've seen probably like half the time poets I've never heard before. So those 5 poems I've heard from them is like, that's my first time hearing them, and it's fresh to me, tight.
At least one of them too, right? There's 2 poets, at least one of them you're not sure about.
But at the same time, it's like, that's a lot. That's a very big commitment to ask people to sit through 5 3-minute rounds and twice like for poets that I've never seen before. And that's kind of like where we try to formulate, that's kind of where we try to split the difference with the Poetry Clash, having 90-second rounds so that 1, it's easier for newcomers to come into poetry, and 2, that it kind of guarantees that, you know, poets are going to give us fresh new poems that have never been released before, because chances are if they did have a 90-second poem, it's probably not about the poetry prompts that we assigned them to. So we're trying to, you know, like maintain fresh content, and at the same time like user accessibility, like new audience accessibility.
No, I feel
But
that.
that's not to say that Introverses is still dope. Like I feel Introverses is definitely like the poets slam. It's like
it's interesting
head to head
because,
poet slam. It's for poets.
Yeah, and like Introverses is interesting because it shows it's kind of proof of concept for online slams eventually, because if you wanted to do a proper like slam, that's a long commitment too. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going to be sitting there a while. You're going to listen to at least 8 and then 4 and then 2 and then, you know what I'm saying? Like that's about the same amount of time as what Introverses is doing. The dopest thing I love about like Introverses and what we're doing and what So Fried is doing, shout out So Fried, and Screen Time Slam as well, is we're all kind of organically hitting all of the cultural notches and like potential places for poetry content and what we're doing. So like Introverses is super dope because it does show that audiences will watch 2 super high level slam poets go head to head, and they'll more importantly watch slam poetry for that long, an hour and a half. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a long time. And then you have like Kat, shout out Screen Time Slam, who was like a working model for slam, and like it seems to fill and operate like a slam. And then SoFry doing crazy things with like the digital space and trying to really like one up the game. And what we're really just trying to do is like make super condensed, impactful things. So if you think of SoFried or Introverses as like the premier place for 2 slam poets to show their slam potential, you know what I'm saying? That is kind of what Introverses feels like to me. And I really feel like what we're trying to be is show people's pen games. Like being in the Clash is not only about your slam potential, because that's one thing that we've from jump talked about, our frustrations with slam poets who rest on their laurels and just do the same things all the time. It's like, if you want to clash, you got to come. This is a level beyond just going into a slam. You got to write to this. You got to like do this thing.
Right.
And not to say like slams at a lower level. It's just we're trying to create a thing that shows people's writing abilities, because we know poets can perform and we know they can spit and we know they can say dope things, but a lot of times the public doesn't know how well poets can actually write, and that's the point, right? Like let's show them how to showcase that in an exciting way. Like come on, bro, we're literally trying to put kids on
90 seconds. In 90 seconds, and that's the second part, right? So like it's not enough to do poetry the way poets want to do it, but also trying to produce poetry content in a style that's easily accessible to new audiences, right? Yeah. So like that's kind
to a 12-year-old crazy kid in 7th grade class. You know what I'm saying?
That's the really hard part about creating poetry content, in that once you're in the culture, it's very difficult to remove yourself out of it and trying to see, you know, like the poetry scene, the poetry community from very fresh eyes. It's really tough to do, because once you're in it, then like you're part of the choir, and you're preaching back to the choir, and you're hearing the choir preach back to you, and it's very difficult to remove yourself from that. And it's like, okay, like as a hip hop head, it's hard for me to listen to rap the way a person that doesn't like rap listens to rap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
So as a person that likes poetry, it's very difficult for me to remove myself from poetry content in general. And it's like trying to observe it. It's like, okay, like how would I, as a person who doesn't fuck with poetry, view this content? And I don't know, like maybe I really feel like the Clash is the way, right? Like short rounds, introducing each person as a character. Like we're doing as much as possible, but we don't know, because we're in the scene. We can't remove that out of us, you know? Like you can't take the hip hop out of the hip hop head. You can't remove the poet head out of the poet. You know what I'm saying? It's really tough. So I really hope that we're on the mark. And thank you everyone for joining us on this Clash journey. The Clash itself is only 25 minutes long, and this talk was an hour long, but I feel like it's like a mini podcast episode.
Yeah, we're trying to just make content, and like, really, this is dope because we do the clash and we don't ever get to talk about it. So we just make it, and then we stress about it, and then we put it out, and then we never talk about it. So this is fun. Like, this is an enjoyable thing.
Cool.
Shout out, Benny.
And this is also like this whole like, you know, using all of these scenes. Like, this is kind of how I imagined the actual like moving forward.
The clash eventually.
When we do real clash, like, you know, when we do clashes again, this is how I want to record. Like, doing it real time. The problem is that I don't have the ability to, like, if there was if I fucked up, like, let's say Daniel is performing, right? So Daniel, like act as if you're performing a poem. So I have it on him, and then all of a sudden I bring it to this scene where there's an Instagram hand. I was like, why is that there? I don't know. I accidentally pressed the wrong button, and then Daniel's still performing his poem, and I put it on me. I'm like, whoops, didn't mean to put it on me. So I put it back to Daniel. You know what I'm saying? A big complaint that we had about the clash itself was that so many people wanted to get on that, like, it's tough to tell them no, because, like, no, there are homies, there are damn ones, but at the same time, like, they take a month to do. You know, like, from recording to editing to doing the promo.
6 weeks.
It takes a lot of fucking work. It takes a lot of time. So that being said, we decided to do the mini clash, which is pretty much we write a poetry prompt on Instagram, and then people can submit 1-minute videos of themselves performing a poem to that prompt. Then we match those to, like, other people who submitted, and then we have the mini clash. Boom. So that's our way of trying to grow the clash system at scale on a smaller size. But this clash, like, the main YouTube clash, this is like what I saw in becoming the premier, you know, content piece moving forward. Like, when we have clash events, it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be crazy. Like, imagine Clique having, like, you know, an international clash IRL. Like, we have, like, Manchester versus England, versus Spain versus fucking Germany versus US versus
Ghana,
Canada,
bro. Get, like,
versus Ghana versus Nigeria.
Get the Philippines out there.
Yeah, it's going to be
Australia,
like
New Zealand.
Yeah, like, one day, I really feel like the clash system could go that way. You know, if we still go at it and the
Poetry Olympics,
how to monetize this shit. Yeah, it will literally be the World Cup of poetry. Poetry Clash can be the World Cup of poetry. Like, before COVID happened, dude, I was already in the works, like, initial sketches of making, like, city team jerseys. I was thinking about, like, a Team Pomona, Team LA, Team Eagle Rock, or whatever. You know, like, I was thinking, like, all right, we're gonna try to build up the Pomona versus Hollywood hype, or Long Beach versus versus fucking Compton hype. And then I'll design them, like, custom shirts, right? Like, I was thinking about, like, oh, maybe we should have, like, the Pomona Lions versus the Compton Sharks versus, and then I'll create, like, shark logos. Like, I had this whole, like, branding package thing ideated in my sketchbook, and
someday,
fucking
something along those lines.
Someday. All right, y'all. Daniel, you got any final words for our family?
Follow us. If you ain't following us, tell a friend. We love y'all. Go on our Instagram and vote for the mini clash, Retro versus Benny. They're both super dope, so help one of them win some free stuff. Hit us up, bro. Tell a friend. Help poetry.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Peace.